I'm filming this video a couple days before the end of the month, and it's looking like we've hit the $1 million annualized revenue threshold for the law firm, at least if you extrapolate April's data.
We made it.
Revenue will definitely be between $80,000 to $100,000, probably around $90,000, which when you multiply that by 12 months is more than $1 million in revenue. So that's kind of cool.
Wow.
So revenue continues to tick up at the law firm side of things, and we're currently up to 11 people, but we already have 2 people slated to join us in the next month or so that'll bring us up to 13 total on the team, which is kind of wild to think about because just 1 year ago, I had just formed Duffley Law. I had just gotten laid off from Big Law, and I started Duffley Law with basically no clients. Now we have enough business coming in to sustain an entire team of people, and we've done good work to this point. We've had our fair share of hiccups, of course, and those will continue as we continue to grow. But generally speaking, we've done a nice job to get things started, and we're trying to improve more and more each day to make it even better and more sustainable and generally more scalable. We're entering a new phase here, and the rest of this year and into next year will really be about making things more efficient, getting myself out of the day-to-day necessities to where I'm really only focusing on things that move the ball forward and aren't necessarily just about maintaining current operations. We'd have other people working on day-to-day things so that I could work on the long-term things or help move things along there. But the whole point would be to remove myself as a bottleneck for the firm. Not that I wouldn't still be working a ton of hours towards the firm because it's my big project, but it's to remove that necessity to actually work on the day-to-day stuff. And there are a few reasons for wanting to do that. One is it makes the whole law firm a lot more versatile because things aren't all going through me, and if something were to happen to me or if I'm tied up with some other thing, then that bottleneck is created in that area of the firm and we can't move forward. So it's a severe limitation because I only have so much time in the day. At the same time, there are plenty of people out there who are better at certain things than I am, and if they're allowed to just focus on that one area or that one thing that I'm already splitting my attention towards, that probably would lead to a qualitative improvement in the firm as well, so that's a huge plus there too. And we'll be able to create some redundancies within the firm, so if one person is out or can't do something, we have other people who can fill in to do that same thing because there's just more people on the team and more people who can do things. And that makes for a healthier and stronger organization. Perhaps the trickiest part will be to keep people motivated through all the change because change is sometimes very difficult. It often is very difficult, and it might not always be in the right direction if we make a mistake, which is bound to happen at some point. So trying to work through those mistakes or to work through those changes is a very big deal, and trying to get people bought into that is very difficult sometimes. And meanwhile, we've got to continue to give good service to our clients. The ride never stops. But the next few months at the law firm will probably be very process oriented in that we're trying to improve our processes, improve our systems, make things more automated where we can make them, and trying to remove bottlenecks that may have formed in recent months as the team has grown rapidly. And one of the big things that will help with that is getting a much better grasp on our metrics. Right now we have very limited data that we're working off of, and getting some better systems in place so that we can actually track those metrics, or at least track them better than we have been, will be a huge plus because metrics will be the primary driver of decisions on how to improve things in the future, whether that be staffing decisions and bringing more people in or moving people around, or in changing an actual system itself and replacing with something else. If we can identify those problem metrics, those KPIs, key performance indicators, then that is going to be a lot more helpful or generally more accurate than if we were just relying on intuition by itself. And I think at that point we'll really start supercharging the growth of the firm because we'll have a lot more information on our side. Looking forward to that. One thing I'm also looking forward to is the steam cleaning business to start making some more money. It's slowly plugging along. The new manager in place has done a nice job in getting some extra revenue going, but it's still a long way up to get to actual profitability. I'd like to think we'll be able to do that by the end of this year, and if we do, that's great. If we don't, we'll see what happens. But I'm really optimistic after seeing the traction that the current manager has been able to get. Like I said, still a long way to go, but we're seeing some slight positive steps each month, which is good. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into this month's net worth numbers. As a reminder, last month our net worth was just shy of $110,000. As always, let's start with the good stuff, the assets. We received our tax return, so our interest-free loan to the government in the amount of about $30,000 was returned to us, so that was nice. And almost immediately, that tax refund was split into a few things. One was paying down some credit line balance that we had over at the law firm. Another was to build up some reserves for the steam cleaning business because we still anticipate losses in the future. And another was to shore up our liquidity for real estate reserves as well, because you never know when you're going to need something there. And I had let the reserves get a little bit low on one of the units, so I brought those back up with some of the tax refund money. I went ahead and ticked up the Duffley Law equity balance again, although that's pretty arbitrary because I'm not planning to sell. And even if I did plan to sell, it would take a while to sell a law firm. But we do have a lot of money sitting in deposits, and the firm continues to grow, so I want to reflect some balance here. But in total, that leaves us with something over $1.21 million in assets. And now on to liabilities. Not a whole lot changed here either, just made all the minimum payments on these loans, so those are continuing to get ticked down after a pretty big bump up in balances earlier in the year, especially here on the credit cards and the HELOC, since I pulled out money there to sustain the losses that the law firm had earlier in the year. Now we're actually sustaining our operations using actual revenue, so that's nice. And if we switch on over to the debt paydown screen, you can see those payments here that netted almost $3,500 in principal paydown. So cumulatively on the year, we're up to $39,000 or so in net gain on our debt balances. You'd like to see this become a positive number, which would mean it's positive paydown rather than negative paydown, which means an increase in the balance. So we want to see this number turn positive on this chart. And I think we'll be able to do that pretty soon. A couple big months of the law firm, and that could quickly turn this number around. And when that happens, I'll probably focus on the credit cards first, or anything that's revolving that I could tap into again, just to avoid getting too reckless, because if I need that cash again, I could pull it back out because it's a revolving line. So maybe the HELOC and the credit cards or something to that effect. Cash reserves wouldn't be so much of a problem either, but I'd really love to knock out the promissory note and all the personal loans this year as well. But in total, that leaves us with just about $1.1 million in liabilities, which means our net worth has decreased down to $103,000, which is a decrease of about $6,500. Our debt ratio has increased to 91.49%, and our passive income remains at $600 per month, and I expect a boost to this number in a couple months when our new lease kicks in on one of our properties. I guess we'll call it another month of delayed gratification. Given what we've been able to achieve in a very short period of time with the law firm, I'm really looking forward to see what can happen in the second half of the year when we make things a bit more efficient and really start to dial in our process and strategy across the board. We recently brought on someone who we intend to make our long-term operations manager, and he's already gotten to work on some projects to help improve some of those systems and processes. And having someone who could just focus on that, who has experience doing these sorts of things, will be really helpful over the long haul, and even in the short term too. Just some short-term improvements will really add up quickly, because there are a lot of things that could be improved rather quickly. So that also has me very optimistic for the rest of this year and beyond. It's a fun project and a very stressful project at the same time, but that's the business game. And I'm trying to focus on making forward progress each month. As always, time will tell where we can get. Otherwise, if you like this video, please subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. I put out a new one of these updates every single month on the first of the month. Thanks for watching.